At the beginning of the movie, a group of animal traffickers sneaks into a zoo and steals a lion cub. After that, they load the poor animal into an airplane and fly somewhere else, where they meet Elma, the movie's main character, a 25-year-old girl. She wants to be a pianist and loves animals a lot. One day, she goes on vacation to an island. It turns out that her late grandfather owned the island. Elma was adopted by the old man when she was a kid, and now that her grandfather has passed away, she considers him her grandpa. When she arrives, her caretaker Uncle Joe, who has inherited the island, greets her. There's an exquisite cabin on the island, which is quite agreeable and serene for a getaway that evening. Alma goes through her granddad's recordings and becomes close to home. In one of the recordings he makes reference to that a wolf named Snow out of nowhere showed up on the island a couple of years prior. In addition, they were now close friends. After that, he tells Emma to go find the wolf and become friends with her because she can be great company that night. When the plane carrying the lion cub encounters extremely bad weather and crashes on the island, a terrified Alma goes outside her house to look, but because the island is so big, she doesn't see anything the next morning other than a few guys. Charles and Ellie show up at the island and put out snares to catch Snow. It turns out that they own a park for wolves and are eager to bring the smart wolf with them. After some time, Snow eventually gets caught, but she uses her intelligence to escape before the captors arrive. She then swims all the way to the other side of the island, where she meets Elma. At first, Elma is scared, but she comes down when she remembers that her grandpa told her about Snow's friendliness. Then Elma helps Snow out of the leftover net snare and liberates her. Inevitably Elmo shows up at the site where the plane has crashed. Luckily, the lion whelp is safe because of the pad arrival on a bird's home. When Elma sees the terrified young animal and takes him home, the mother bird drops him just as she arrives and causes him to land directly on her arms. Simultaneously, Snow likewise shows up there with her little offspring. Elma has shocked that she has 3 wild creatures in her home. She quickly calls Uncle Joe and the last option advises her to illuminate the specialists as the creatures can be hazardous. He also tells her that some park rangers will be visiting her soon to find out where the lion is. In the next scene, the rangers show up on a boat. Alma, however, decides to hide the animals because she is aware of the zookeeper's cruelty. She deceives the officers that she hasn't seen any creatures close by and gets back. Elmo is relieved because she doesn't have to worry about the lion's diet now that she sees Snow feeding both her cub and the animal together, which is surprising. Elma adores the 2 cubs as if they were her own children as they grow closer to one another over the course of the days. She refers to the lion Dreamer and wolf Jack. Then again, Uncle Joe is careless that the creatures are as yet living on the island. In this manner a couple of months pass by and the fledglings have now expanded. Alma shows them her favorite spot, which she and her grandfather used to visit frequently, on evening walks. Snow provides the 2 middle-sized cubs with food and water at night. Unfortunately, one day, while Alma was on her way to an audition at a record label, the Wolf Rangers return to the island, this time successfully capturing and removing Snow. Then again, Elma lands chose for the position and becomes blissful. Nonetheless, when she gets back to the island, her joy rapidly transforms into loathsomeness when she finds her home totally destroyed by the creatures. They have done so because they are starving. Concerned, Elma searches the entire area for Snow but is unable to locate it. As a result, she is forced to prepare food for the cubs and must quit her newly acquired job one morning. When Uncle Joe arrives to check on Elma, he discovers that the animals are still there. He explodes in anger. Elma explains to him that her grandfather wanted them to be close to animals and gives him the order to immediately take them to a zoo. She also talks about the terrible things that will happen to the cubs if they go to a zoo. Hearing everything, Alma finally wins Uncle Joe over, and he gives her a loving hug. The majority of their time now is spent feeding the cubs and giving them the best care possible. Despite the fact that Alma does not have a job and plays the piano very little, she is extremely content with her life. She has a lot of love for her new friends, and they love her in turn. After a year, the cubs are now adults. Uncle Joe brings the animals meat and other necessities from the city, but he is too afraid to approach them. Elma does not want to give them up, despite him repeatedly telling his niece that the animals are no longer safe now that they are adults. She has decided that she will always live on this island and care for the 2 animals. On a typical day, a mother and daughter in a boat come close to the island. The youngster spots some lovely blossoms and asks her mother to take her there. In the meantime, Jack sees the new people and promptly attempts to move toward them, wondering for no specific reason. Elma, who is likewise close by, faculties the risk and attempts to stop Jack, yet winds up slipping and hitting her head on a stone. This takes her out on the spot. The mother and daughter simultaneously leave the island without spotting the animals. Shortly thereafter, Jack and the dreamer attempt to rouse Elma, but to no avail, and they howl for several hours. The animals sit near Elmo to keep her warm as the day turns to night, possibly calling for assistance but not receiving any response. The following morning, Elma is contacted by Uncle Joe multiple times. But when she doesn't answer, he knows something is wrong and goes to the island to check it out. Sadly, he concludes that the animals have injured her and calls animal control right away. However, after a while, Joe realizes that his actions were wrong when he discovers her unconscious and the animals with her. Alma is taken to a hospital in the following scene, where the doctor tells Uncle Joe that she probably would have died of hypothermia if the animals hadn't kept her warm at night. Ellie and Charles, on the other hand, are presented with Jack by animal control, and after some investigation, they discovered that Jack is in fact Snow's own offspring. In the meantime, Alan and his young son Raphael take care of the lion dreamer at a zoo. Alan is a cruel man who frequently punishes his animals, but Raphael is kind and sweet. He forms an immediate bond with the dreamer and makes regular visits to calm him down. However, within a few days, the dreamer is put under a lot of sedation and forced to perform in circuses. The poor lion had spent his entire life lounging around the island, but the sudden brutality has begun to wear him down. He always makes an effort to make the animal happy in other places because this makes Little Rough upset. When Alma finally awakens, she asks Uncle Joe about her beloved pets, to which he replies that they are safe. Alma feels more at ease when she hears this, but she still misses them a lot. As a result, when she gets out of the hospital, she immediately contacts animal control, where she learns that Jack has been relocated to a wolf park and that Dreamer is being held captive in a cruel circus. Enraged Elma yells at one of the officers there, but Joe calms her down and takes Dreamer away. She calls Ellie shortly thereafter to inquire about Jack's well-being. Ellie informs her that Jack is doing extremely well at the park and has already made a lot of friends. When Alma learns this, she feels somewhat relieved, but she still wants to know more about Dreamer. She goes through the following couple of weeks going to each bazaar in the city and gets some information about Visionary, however gets no data. In the interim, Alan has begun to make a lot of money from the lion's appearance in his circus, where he quickly becomes a celebrity. Despite the fact that no one knows his real name, they simply refer to him as Star Lion when a circus crew from the Dreamer's circus comes through the wolf park. Jack immediately recognizes his best friend. Burning through no time he breaks liberated from the imprisonment, and some other time when Ellie comes to examine, he is shocked. He rapidly derives that Jack is an exceptionally shrewd wolf and that he is looking for something soon enough. Jack deftly freezes the Dreamer from the cage when he reaches the location where he is being held. The two are more than happy to rejoin after months and play around for some time. Alan pulls out his tranquilizer gun in rage and gets ready to pursue the lion. Raphael, his son, tries to persuade the greedy island to leave the stray lion alone, but it doesn't, fearing bad things might happen. Raphael likewise chooses to join Alan in his hunt. In the following scene, Ellie figures out through his companion that Jack has gotten away from imprisonment to pursue his companion lion. Now that both the creatures are absent, there's a full alert in the city that night. Ellie goes to the island and illuminates Zelma about all that. He likewise tells her that the two creatures are unhindered. So the specialists and trackers are after them. Ellie reveals that they had installed a tracker inside Jack, but their location is unknown due to a poor connection, which causes Elma to become concerned. Anyway, the creatures were most recently seen close to a woods. With this, the two chose to go search for Jack and Visionary. The animals, on the other hand, are stumbling around the city, preventing the residents from leaving their homes unattended. They even enter a department store in search of food at one point. As a result, the police give the residents permission to shoot the animals there. A few hours later, they return to the forest and meet Alan and Raphael, the avaricious circus owner. Attempts to shoot Dreamer, but Jack gets in the way and takes the hit. The tranquilizer was meant for a lion, so Jack passes out right away. This worries Raphael, so as soon as the lion flees, he immediately approaches Jack and removes his tracking device and dart. He also gives him a pill to take to lessen the effects of the tranquilizer. After a while, the father and son go to a bar, where Ali and Elma come up to them. It turns out that the two of them followed the track to get there. Alan, who is completely unaware of the tracker, specifies that he doesn't have it and sends them away, but Mess Up professes to go on a washroom break and tells Ellie and Elma all that he likewise takes them to the timberland where they at last meet Visionary. After that, they continue to follow the lion until they reach a shed where Jack is resting. Fortunately, thanks to Rafa's quick thinking, Jack has already regained consciousness just as the police arrive at the scene, provoking Elma to lead the creatures through a mysterious way. Now just the surge of water is keeping them from her hidden island. She is desperate to get there because the island is beyond the jurisdiction of the police. Since there is no boat, everyone must swim the entire way, and Jack, being a wolf, immediately jumps in. Alma tries her best to persuade Dreamer, but he hesitates because he is afraid of water. In any case, Visionaries basically pivots and heads back inside the wilderness. And soon after that, a gunshot is heard as Alma and Jack swim to the island, indicating that Dreamer has passed away. She reaches the island and begins to cry profusely, but Dreamer suddenly arrives there. Elma performs a piano concert for some people who have come all the way to her island on a boat. Dreamer and Jack are also present there, living as one happy family. The movie ends as Elma shares the story of her pets to the crowd. It turns out that he went back inside the jungle to distract the policeman from seeing him back. As a result, everyone becomes happy, bringing joy and emotion to everyone.